Hello, my name's Henrik Bear. I'm the content producer from oneworldeconomicforum.com. This is a new series with my mugshot on full screen in front of the camera for the sake of speed. I have a lot to talk about, and so I'd like to get cracking with it at faster pace than I've been able to do through my writing and through my previous film work. I'd like to give you a little information on my background as to why I speak about what I speak about. I've been a long time reader and follower, I guess, of the late Jiddu Krishnamurti, a world teacher who died in the 1980s. And his words have come to have great impact on my life. And I see huge value for our world were we to question in the way he advocates that we do question. He talked his whole life about society needing changed, and the root change for him, which I agree with, is the change has to come through us. We build society, we build the structure of society, it's us who builds the divisive nature of society. We need to change if we are to build something better, and for the sake of all our children and children to come after them, we owe this to our race. So, in the wake of the reimagining of our world by the World Economic Forum, I'd like to just say that I have some reimagining of my own, and I'm sure that you do as well. The World Economic Forum has talked about an inclusive approach to building a better world, build back better, so they say. Pandemic being their narrow window of opportunity to enact this building back better. Interestingly, the inclusive process of their commitment doesn't include that many people. It's only the rich people who have been invited to give their ideas over as to how the world should go. And I question that because there's a lot of us who are not in agreement with the way this world has gone since Build Back Better was announced. And so I'd like to give over some kind of insights into how I think that the world could really be built back, not better, but built back good, built back with a broader kind of concern for the general population than only for rich people. Prior to the pandemic, I was never really happy with life, so to speak. There was always a kind of a discontent with life. It felt to me like I'd been born on the wrong planet. It didn't seem to function in an orderly way. On the veneer surface, there seemed to be order for sure. But I never really took to the discipline of society of seeking success for the sake of success. Money for me has been something that I need for this day. And if I've got enough for this day, and then enough for tomorrow, and enough to look after my family and pay my bills, I'm a happy man. I have no great need for money outwith of the immediate pressing needs for it. And I question this push in our society for success. I think it's a sickness in our society. I think the most so-called successful in our society, the centenary billionaires of this world, are really the biggest failures if you look at our world as a complete whole. Because if it were not for these people who have grabbed so many of the resources of this world into their back pockets, then there would be a lot more to share around where it's needed. Look to America this day. Look at the street sleepers, look at the drug addicts, look at all the problems that are being ignored because everyone's chasing after their own success. No one has the time or the energy or the inclination. You know, Elon Musk, the man's richest world, bought up Twitter for how much? I forget the exact amount. Was it 42 billion? Can you imagine how that could have impacted some of the globe's problems? Same man is looking to take us into space. God knows what kind of a planet he's going to leave behind. So I question this giving so much resources to apparently the most inventive in our society. I don't necessarily see these people as such. They may hold a certain genius within a very limited area, but their genius is not something that's conducive to the health of the whole of our society. So I question that. So prior to the pandemic, as I said, kind of a disgruntled moving along, keeping myself to myself. I'm an English teacher by trade at the moment. I've done many things. I've been a teacher for a long time. So doing my work, interest in Krishnamurti, questioning my life. I'm 60 years old, so questioning my death, questioning why we live the way we live. When you do so, you come to see that there's a common pattern which lies underneath our society, which seems to have accompanied mankind for centuries, thousands of years even. It was among us, among the Greeks, it was with us with the Romans, the Egyptians. It's been with us forever. Go back to any point in society and you'll find the same system of disparity, which is a system of becoming. We seek security by building on our lives. Now, that seems like a noble affair, but all must be questioned because, let's face it, this is not a noble world. This world has great needs and people with so much that they could never spend in a billion years. And this is apparently our ideology of something that's what's fair. Is it fair? Can't be called fair, can it? It's not fair, so what is it? Orderly? This is orderly? So it never really sat with me the way that the structure of society came before, and it sits with me even less the way that it's headed since the announcement of Klaus Schwab's Great Reset, which I'm sure is not Klaus Schwab's Great Reset. Klaus Schwab is the face for this movement. The likely people behind the scenes pulling the strings are in the shadows. So the Great Reset, we are to own nothing and be happy. We are to live in 15-minute cities. We are to lose cars. We are to stop eating the culinary, dietary menu of our entire existence over thousands of years, apparently. Fake everything is coming. Fake food. Bill Gates, a member of the World Economic Forum, is already well down the road of producing fake meats. I hear of fake fish coming along. No doubt fake vegetables will be following suit. Actually, they already are, aren't they? Genetically modified organisms. Fake everything. We're even going to be having fake human beings in the form of droids, and I hear the deep joy that we are at some point in the future going to merge with machine ourselves. This is all the stated intent of the World Economic Forum. And I'd like to offer my version of what I consider to be something a good bit better than that. Underlying our life activities is our process of thinking. Underlying our process of thinking is a structure which is greatly unquestioned. This structure is educated into us as children and remains greatly unnoticed, although it's everywhere to be seen. It lies in the following of a teacher over 12 years at a very young age, which conditions our brains to following an authority in later life. We follow authority in every area of life. For medicine, we follow the authority of a doctor, which itself is a fake kind of medicine. If you see the obvious, that man grows out of an environment which supports mankind's life, and the medicines were already provided for us in the form of plants. John D. Rockefeller came along and with his great wealth persuaded us otherwise, and we've been living under that banner, allopathic medicine, for almost 100 years now. If we don't kind of stop and question, where will our world be 100 years from now? What will our grandchildren and great-grandchildren look like? Will they be machines? It seems so. Klaus Schwab is openly talking about everyone will be able to hear everyone else's thoughts, and, if we don't merge with artificial intelligence, then we won't survive ourselves. Why don't we just stop so that we can survive ourselves right now? I'd like to also question this issue of progress, okay? This progressive attitude, which comes with seeking success, of course. Success is a movement of building on past endeavours into the future. It's kind of like walking in the same place and digging a deeper hole. So we think we progress, but we're actually staying in a very narrow line of life. If you think about progress, we've progressed massively from hitting each other with clubs thousands and thousands of years ago to kill one person, and now we can kill millions with the push of a button. That's progress. We've never progressed beyond killing people, and that needs question. So have we really progressed at all? And why do we kill each other? Why do we go to war? Why do we battle for success, which itself is a form of violence? Me against you, I put down you. Let's face it, our richest bribe our politicians. It's called lobbying, but our politicians are no longer working for the people. That should be evident for everyone in the world. We're only stating facts. We're not attacking anyone. So my kind of great reset. I don't like to use those words, but my kind of great reset would be more a focus on the actual problems that we have, and not with a view to fix them in a future over 10-year plans, but to deal with them now so that we can have a better world beginning right this moment. Our governments obviously mislead us. Our pharmaceutical companies obviously mislead us. Our businesses obviously mislead us. And they all meet together in this wonderful World Economic Forum, this big old boys club, which we are excluded from participating in and offering a voice. Now, I'm not attacking these people at all. They are the ultimate end of our system of capitalism, which we have accepted as being orderly. We are all to blame for the way our world has went, because we all functioned in the same way. Were we the ones who picked up the mantle of seeking such phenomenal success, we would be likewise in their position, nodding our heads in agreement with Klaus, because we seek ever an authority to look after our lives. Authorities apparently bring order, until they bring disorder, and they frequently do. Just look to past history for verification. Mussolini, Hitler, Mao, Pol Pot, to name a few. And every decade or so in different parts of the world, we've seen this dictatorship rising, which brings great disorder to so many people's lives. Millions of people can die, and this is apparently our way of ordering things. It's a pyramid structure, isn't it? We've all seen the pyramid with the eye. It's on the dollar bill. Well, that's our structure. One person sitting at the top, billions sitting at the bottom. This person nods his head and his wishes are rippled down to the bottom, and we all get on our knees and obey the authority we were commanded to during our juvenile years of school. We're conditioned also to seeking success, obviously. We're conditioned to competition, to get to the top of the class. We are conditioned to living in a process of time, and we're conditioned to living conceptually. Okay, so a lot of things there to kind of keep in mind. We're conditioned to living conceptually because we have been conditioned by society to see ourselves as a name. Okay, you're not a name, but you are a name. The way that we live, we are names. We consider ourselves to be a name. I would say quite openly to someone, I am Henrik, rather than my name is Henrik. I am Henrik. And so a crossover kind of takes place, an unrealistic crossover, where we come to see ourselves as the continuity of our name. That's one conditioning. Another conditioning is that identification to the name is the continuity of what seeks success in continuing time. Continuing time builds from a past into a future. So we're building yesterday into tomorrow. And so we're kind of on a train track which moves down a linear line. The interesting thing about this is that the past for all of us is a different affair. None of us have the same education. We're all educated to different values, different beliefs, different judgmental outlooks in life, all self-centered, as educated to be. This is no sin. We were educated to this, and as far as one can see through the history books, we've been educated to this for thousands of years. Unless we stop it, we're never going to have a good world. And the problem now is, of course, that technology, which is also a process of our thinking, as is this conceptual movement of moving into success, has become so advanced that we are standing on a precipice of our race coming to an end unless we can stop and take stock and come to find something which may be of truer value in life than forever seeking progress. Moving into a future as we do, we fragment, we break into pieces. We do so because our past is different for each of us. So a very strongly believing Christian will seek a different future than a very strongly believing Muslim or an atheist or a Jew. And each of these, of course, are at each other's throats as well, because if one of these is right and they all believe they're right, then the others can't be. And so we come to battle in life. The Jew wants to see a world dominated by the Jewish people, which is quite right if you look to our conditioning where the strongest apparently survive. Why don't we ever think about the possibility that we can all survive? and we can all work together? Well, the answer to that one is that we carry all these conditionings which divide us, and we're all seeking our own security in a progressively moving future where we see ourselves as sitting on the golden throne. We fragment in all kinds of ways other than in religion. We fragment nationally. We fragment with a sense of nationalistic pride, Britain first, or an American patriot, or you could add any one of probably 197 nations to that list. So our identity of nothing other than the lottery of where we were born in life comes to divide us also. We value being a part of that group because it makes us feel secure. So we find security in the larger group, as we do in our chosen or educated religion, and we seek the continuity and the company of those who are of like mind to us. But in doing so, in finding such security, we divide ourselves from other groups of people who are doing the same thing with different beliefs, different dogmas, and we come to kill ourselves. And we've done this over and over again. So there's one thing that I think the World Economic Forum has right. That's we need a global government. And I question that we need a new artificial intelligence invented religion. I question that the World Economic Forum has any meaning of the word religion at all. We'll come around to that a little bit later. One world government would be lovely. One people would be lovely. Break all these borders, really come together. But to come together, we have to stop being divided inwardly. And so a psychological revolution is needed for this. We each need to come to see the danger of the values that we hold, which are, let's face it, nothing we have ever found out for ourselves. These are dogmas and tenets and beliefs, instructions educated into us from when we were very small, when we were too young to question and too naive to understand the value of doing so. So a one world government would be lovely, but a one world government which pleases us would be better, I think, than a one world government which just is grabbed by who happens to be the most powerful people in the world at this time, who, let's face it, are the most self-interested, the most ambitious, and without mentioning any names, their past CVs in a lot of cases hold little to desire when love and care for the rest of humanity is the consideration. So I think one world government's a great idea. I question that the people who are pushing for it and seeking to take control of it are the correct candidates for it. Not casting any stones. I don't cast stones at anyone, okay? I know that there's some very questionable things have taken place these last few years, but I'm in no way saying that any call for aggression is warranted. It's not. We live in an overly violent world. We're all at it. Every single group is at it. We all think we're right. We need to put down the stones. We need to stop fighting. And we need to fathom this out. Come together to do so. But the main problem with us coming together is we live psychologically so divided, self-interested, as educated to be, religiously biased, as educated to be, standing on a ground of religion we have no proof of whatsoever other than a strong belief, which the religion itself, which holds little real visible quality of what might one come to consider a religious life, states has to be. And we're all in this boat, so we're divided. So can we put down these accepted dogmas, beliefs, sense of patriotism, even sense of self-interest, and understand that each of us is in the same boat today, that each of us lives in a world where we need to come together. Otherwise, a lot of us are going to have a very traumatic few years ahead of us, which will probably make the last few seem like a boat trip down the river on a sunny day. Let's talk a little more about success qualities, unscripted. Success leads to authority, as we can see this day. Look to Joe Biden. Joe Biden's the president of America. Apparently, he's the face of the presidential office of America. But the man's not the president of America. It's so obvious other people are taking decisions behind the scenes. Joe Biden is of no fit state to be President of America. He can hardly string a few words together some days. And Joe, nothing against you either. Really, nothing against you. But for goodness sake, this is the leader of the world. This is the pinnacle, that point at the top of the pyramid that we all bow down to. A man who appears to be not mentally competent. If he were your granddad, you'd be talking about him, saying, poor granddad. Poor Joe. Seriously, poor Joe. Poor us, if he is the leader of the free world. And the free world for a long time has been the cause of the not free world for so many others. And that needs questioned. Our military domination over the world in the West, which has went on for decades, we've all been so quiet about it because it hasn't been on our doorstep. Well, today it is. And why do we go to war with each other? Divisions again. Divided outlooks, divided nationalities, divided religions. I want what you have, and I'm going to damn well take it. Self-interest. Now, the interesting thing I think about our school years is we're educated to put ourselves in first position, which is a sense of competition. And this is considered noble in our world, that to battle all others is some kind of proof that you are superior in nature to them. Have a think about this. If we didn't do that, if we put everyone else before us, if we were educated to think nothing of ourselves, nothing, don't think about yourself at all. Think about everyone else. How are they doing? Look after them. Make sure that they are succeeding in life. Can you imagine if every single person in the world were doing that? If every single person in the world were doing that, we're all looked after. No one's self-interested, no one's lying, no one's cheating, no one's devious, no one's starting wars on false pretenses seeking to make a profit from the destruction of lives and then the building up again. We're all interested in each other. Well, what about me? Where before it was just me interested in myself battling against everyone else doing the same, now everyone's interested in me as I am interested in everyone else. Isn't that a better approach to life? Isn't that something that we could build into our school system? And wouldn't that have more value than trying to allow children to question if they were born in the right sex? What is that all about? That needs questioned. So many things today need questioned. But that's maybe for another video. Success leads to authority. Authority leads to corruption. Authority leads to one man with hundreds of billions able to drop millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions in any direction he wishes, to bypass the will of the people in elections, to taint the media to his way of seeing things. No? And I don't need to go on, do it? To start wars, to kill thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, God knows how many people. One man can do this because of the disparity in wealth which we have allowed to develop in this system of so-called capitalist endeavour. It's crazy, isn't it? I think it's crazy. And it all comes from our school years. It all comes from the classroom competitive spirit of reaching top of the class, being in commanding position, being self-interested, obeying authority, becoming the authority, becoming the voice which commands all. Owning the world, losing your soul. Divisions are endemic to our world. I've already mentioned that. I've talked about one world government. These are on my next kind of line of notes. Something I'd like to point out is that although we're all divided, we're all exactly the same. We all want to live in peace, don't we? Even the centenary billionaires who, from my perspective, are causing so many problems in our world, seeking their outcome, seeking their better. Better is a judgment, isn't it, based on past? And past is limited to what I've experienced. And so these people have no understanding of your life, of my life, of my neighbour's life. They've no understanding of the people sleeping on Skid Row or what it's like to be born an African child and live for only a few minutes because you can't access even a piece of bread. They've no understanding of any of this, and their self-interest is like a veneer which comes in front of their eyes, which blocks them from any kind of empathy reaching them, any relationship to any action that they might take otherwise were they not so self-driven from being the perception which motivates their activities. And we all do this. We all do this because we're all self-interested. We're all moving into a future from a past. We're all looking to a future. Future creates two things: desire in your heart, okay, and fear in your heart, because you might not get what you want. And even if you do, you might not be able to hang on to it. Someone else might knock you off your pedestal. So fear and desire are both kind of emotions which are common to your mind, common to your life, I'm sure, which come about when we live in psychological time. Another thing which happens when we live in psychological time, and this is the greatest of tragedies, and this is where traditional divisive religion misses the plot entirely. Religion is not a matter of belief. Religion is something which changes a man's heart, changes a man's mind, and revolutionizes his life. Religion is the meeting of relationship in life to life as it is, not as it has been or not as it will be. We seek in a line of perpetual continuity. So the present moment to us is an infinitesimally small piece of time, little piece of time, which is of little consequence to us because we have our eyes firmly set on what's coming. And the bigger, the mightier, the bigger the prize they're looking for. And so we don't even see this present moment. It means nothing to us. Where do you think relationship comes to in life? Relationship comes from being related. You can only be related when you meet someone on the same ground, at the same time, at the same place, free of other occupation. Because if you're mentally occupied in projecting your desires into the future, you can't meet. And so we've lost relationship to life. We've lost relationship to nature. We've lost relationship to everything. And that would certainly be part of my building back good. I daren't say the word better. I think that word's been somewhat spoiled. Building back good would be to demand that, come on, waking up, people, to this present moment. This is the moment where everything is going all to pot. And this is the only time that we can act. And we can act most efficiently when we act together as one, and we cannot act together as one if we're all divided in psychological beliefs, a sense of patriotism, and a seeking a future, my future against yours. We have to come together to build this world. And I say this to rich and poor. I don't think that anyone is to blame any more than anyone else, because we all have this psychological limitation, which mankind has always lived with. Shall we always live with it? Shall we progress into becoming machines? Is that progression? Our progression, by the way, is a kind of a regression, in a sense, because our progress is seeking a state of arrival. We keep seeking for more. This is a movement of knowledge. Thinking is knowledge. Knowledge, the kind of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Knowledge is never complete. Never complete. There's always more to be known. Always. In any field, it doesn't matter how much you study that field, there's always more to know. So knowledge never offers completion in life. Okay, if we evolve, if we take over evolution, as some think they're doing, which is ludicrous, how can we take over evolution, a natural process to life? We are inventing ourselves out of existence. That's what we're doing. So evolution, this kind of evolution, this kind of psychological evolution is really a regression. It's not evolving anywhere. It's a continuity of the past, because the past is limited to what I know. What I know is limited to what I've experienced. I can't experience everything, and so my actions are always in the shadow of a monumental ignorance in comparison to the tiny small piece of knowledge I hold. When I act in ignorance, I cause catastrophe. And look back through the human race's history. The past 15,000 wars have taken place in the past 6,000 years. Such has been our divisive pursuits into progress. Interesting thing, if you stop progress, If you stop it, just say, okay, we played that game, it was looking kind of dangerous. Let's just put it to an end. Let's close that door of progress. Let's see where we are and what today needs help. Give it the help it needs. Forget about self. Start looking to others. Let others look to us. We'll be well cared for, as we will well care for others. Start to build up what is here today. Stop the progress. You know, an interesting thing happens there if you're not being driven by knowledge anymore, which is an ideology psychologically seeking to become something in time. If you're not doing that, if you're not involved in that childish childhood training which has populated and programmed the brain of humanity forever, if you're not involved with that, if you have a quiet mind, which is actually looking around, you know, there's people sleeping on the streets there that have a real bad problem with drugs. The present moment opens for you and your actions are directed by your senses to where the action is needed. You're no longer, off on your own trip to, I'm going to get to Mars. Sorry, Elon, I'm not picking on you in particular, but you're a good example, okay? Or Meta becoming a new whatever it is, and Elon's going to take them to court, I think, because Zuckerberg seems to be ripping off Twitter. So, you're not off on your own trip anymore. You're not concerned about yourself anymore, because when all is secure, when all is looked after, you're part of that all. As we're all divided, we're all killing the security we need, seeking our isolated security, which is psychological in nature, and our physical world is going to pieces. Okay? So I would encourage a stopping of progress. I don't relish turning into a machine. I don't relish my children's children being robotic in nature. And artificial intelligence is not artificial intelligence, it's artificial thought. It's programmed to begin with, as we are given a baseline of instructions from which to go out and build our lives upon. In school years, artificial intelligence is given the same. It's artificial thinking. And look where thoughts brought us to. The nature of thought is it's divided between us, because thought is knowledge and knowledge is never complete, and we each have different past experiences, and so, as I said, we fragment into our divisive futures, each seeking our own security, denying the security we need right now. Where's the future? And yet we all live for this place, but where is it? Look around, point it out to me, will you? When the future comes, it will be now. And the past, when it was, it's always now. This is where we need the change. And the change needs to begin here. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea as the world I'd like to see. A more caring world. A world less self-interested, much less self-interested. A world where we've thrown the concept of me before you into the trash can it so deserves. Because then as a race we can really flourish. Can you imagine 7 or 8 billion people in this world all working together for their own shared interest? Can you imagine that? I don't know. I don't know what that would look like, because this world of division, corruption, which comes from division. Interestingly, the word corruption etymologically carries a meaning of breaking into pieces, which is division. Our race runs itself on measurement. The higher the better, apparently. Well, the higher creates the lower. We keep ourselves together. We are one. We came from this planet. We are a part of this planet. We are this world. Our job is to look after it well, come to our senses, revolutionize the lives of mankind so that the future for man can be better than what we've had to put up with. What stops us doing this? You tell me. What stops us doing this? Our self-interested concerns, of course. And everyone's at it. Pharmaceutical corporations are at it. Centenary billionaires are at it. Lesser billionaires are at it. Millionaires are at it. Thousandaires are at it. Poor are at it. Okay? Every attack on every other person by another person has a self-interested motivation behind it. Be that of pleasure, be it of I want what you have. It's always self-interest. It's always a division. And a self-interested life is a confused, kind of disturbed life. Have you noticed? Have you noticed your life has so little meaning? Now, we give it meaning. We give it meaning in the sense of, I will work this way and I will achieve this, and we invent a meaning. What about the actual meaning of life? What is the meaning of life? You see how we have so lost our relationship to life as it is, so natural to every other animal on this planet. We destroy everything in our eternal search for a better future, denying the perfect present which exists in front of our eyes. We've destroyed our water. We're spraying chemtrails in the sky, God knows what for. Global warming has to be questioned when we know that we own, or not we, I don't have it in my backyard, but our race owns weather modification equipment. And so, given the fact that we're all self-interested, we're all in competitive battle against each other, is it little surprise the world we live in is the way that it is? We need to come to question everything. We need to stop blaming, understanding that we all stand on this fragmented ground of knowledge, and we can go nowhere by bringing back the gallows. No one is to blame, or all of us are to blame. Might as well put your own head on that chopping block. I think that's enough for today, and I'm hopeful to be able to keep this going on a fairly regular basis. My own life has been greatly impacted by long COVID, which was a result of shedding. Yes, it's real. I suffered debilitating neuropathic pain, and it's been a long time going. It's about 1.5 years now. That's another story. Maybe for another time. I'll maybe do a talk on long COVID. I'm aware that there's a lot of people in the world with likewise symptoms, and I really feel for you. And likely, not saying it's so, but likely, that's also a result of the same phenomenon of our self-interest. Hitler's self-interest, look what it did to the poor Jews. Jewish self-interest today, how is that involved in our global situation? I don't know. I'm not saying anything there, okay? I don't know. But we can see that the Jews have a certain command over the American and British governments. Every president flies over there to their wall. And this is what every one of us wants. Can we not put down our desire to command, to come to authority? See that creates an incredible instability in the only world that we know. And can we not come to our senses? We can keep these historical identities, but give them second place to the physical nature of our lives. We can keep going to church, but see it more as nothing so serious that I identify it as the root of my being and the purpose of my life. We're building a wonderful heaven after life, and we create such a hell on earth during our lives. Is there life after death? Is there life before death?